3 hours after my flight landed in Peshawar, I was sitting on shredded upholstery in the backseat of a smoke-filled taxicab. My driver, a chain-smoking, sweaty little man who introduced himself as Gollum, drove nonchalantly and recklessly, avoiding collisions by the thinnest of margins, all without so much as a pause in the incessant stream of words spewing from his mouth. Terrible what is happening in the country, Yar. Afghani people and Pakistani people, they are like brothers, I tell you. Muslims have to help Muslims, so... I turned him out, switched to a polite nodding mode. I remember Peshawar pretty well from the few months Baba and I spent there in 1981. We were heading west home now, on Hamden Road, past the cantonment and its lavish, high-walled homes. The bustle of city blurring the past reminded me of a busier, more crowded version of the Kabul I knew, particularly the Koche, Morha or Chicken Bazaar, where Hassan and I used to chutney-dipped potatoes and cherry water. The streets were clogged with bicycle riders, milling pedestrians, and rickshaws popping blood smoke, all weaving through a maze of narrow lanes and alleys. Bearded vendors draped in thin blankets sold animal skin lampshades, carpets, embroidered shawls, and copper goods from rows of small, tightly jammed stalls. The city was bursting with sounds. The shouts of vendors rang in my ears, mingled with the blare of Hindi music, the spluttering of rickshaws, and the jingling bells of whole-drawn carts. Rich scents, both pleasant and not so pleasant, drifted to me through the passenger window. The spicy aroma of pakora and Nihari Baba had loved so much, blended with the sting of diesel fumes, the stench of rot, garbage, and feces. A little past the red bricks building of Peshawar University, we entered an area my garrulous driver referred to as Afghan Town. I saw sweet shops and carpet vendors, kebab stalls, kids with dirt cakes hand-selling cigarettes, tiny restaurants, maps of Afghanistan painted on their windows, all interlaced with backstreet aid agencies. Many of your brothers in this area, Yar. They are opening businesses, but most of them are very poor. He his tongue and sighed. Anyway, we are getting close now. I thought about the last time I had seen Rahim Khan in 1981. He had come to say goodbye the night Baba and I fled from Kabul. I remember Baba and him embracing in the foyer, crying softly. When Baba and I arrived to the U.S., he left Rahim Khan kept in touch. They would speak 4 or 5 times a year, and sometimes Baba would pass me the receiver. The last minute I spoken to Rahim Khan had been shortly after Baba's death. The news had reached Kabul and he got called. We'd only spoken for a few minutes and lost the connection. The driver pulled up a narrow building at busy corner where 2 winding streets intersected. I paid the driver, took my lone suitcase, and walked up the intricately carved door. The building had wooden balconies with open shutters, from many of them. Laundry was hanging to dry in the sun. I walked the creaky stairs to the 2nd floor, down a dim hallway to the last door on the right, checked the address on the piece of stationery paper in my palm, knocked. Then, a thing made of skin and bones pretending to be Rahim Khan opened the door. A creative writing teacher at San Jose State used to say about cliches. Avoid them like the plague. Then he laughed at his own joke. Then the class laughed along with him. But I always thought cliches got a bum rap, because often they are dead on. But the aptness for the cliché saying is overshadowed by the nature of saying as the cliché. For example, the elephant in the room saying, nothing could more correctly describe the initial moments of my reunion with Rahim Khan. We sat on a wispy mattress set along the wall across the window overlooking the noisy street below. Sunlight slanted in and cast a triangular wedge of light into the Afghan rug on the floor. 2 folding chairs rest against one wall and a small copper removal set in the opposite corner. I poured us tea from it. "How did you find me?" I asked. "It's not difficult to find people in America. I bought a map from the U.S. and called up information for cities in Northern California," he said. "It's wonderfully strange to see you as a grown man." I smiled and dropped 3 sugar cubes in my tea. He liked his black and bitter, I remembered. "Baba didn't get the chance to tell you, but I got married 15 years ago." The truth was, by then, the cancer in Baba's brain had made him forgetful, negligent. "You are married? To whom?" Her name is Soraya Taheri. I thought of her back home, worrying about me. I was glad she wasn't alone. Taheri? Whose daughter is she? I told him, his eyes brightened. Oh yes, I remember now. Isn't General Taheri married to Sharif Jan's sister? What was her name? Jamila Jan. Valet, he said, smiling. I knew Sharif Jan in Kabul long time ago, before he moved to America. He's been working for the INS for years, handles a lot of Afghan cases. Hi, he sighed. Do you and Soraya Jan have children? Nay. Oh, he slapped his tea and didn't ask more. Rahim Khan had always been one of the most instinctive people I've ever met. I told him a lot about Baba, his job, the flea market, and how at the end he died happy. I told him about my schooling, my books, 4 published novels to my credit now. He smiled at this, said he never had any doubt. I told him I had written short stories in the letter-bound notebook he'd given me, but he didn't remember the notebook. The conversation inevitably turned to the Taliban. It's as bad as I hear? I said. Nah, it's much worse. Much worse, he said. They don't let you be human. He pointed a scar above his right eye, cutting a crooked path through his bushy eyebrow. I was at a soccer game in Ghazi Stadium in 1998, Kabul against Masari Sharif. I think, and by the way the players weren't allowed to wear shorts, incident exposure, I guess. I gave a tired laugh. Anyway, Kabul scored a goal and the man next to me cheered loudly. Suddenly, this young bearded fellow who was patrolling the aisles, 18 years old at the most about the look of him, he walked up to me and struck me on the forehead with the butt of his Kalashnikov. Do that again, and I'll cut your tongue, you old donkey, he said. Rahim Khan rubbed the scar with a girdle finger. I was old enough to be his grandfather, and I was sitting there, blood gushing down my face, apologizing to that son of a dog. I poured him more tea. Rahim Khan talked some more. Much of it I knew already, some not. He told me that, as arranged between Baba and him, he had lived in Baba's house in 1981. This I knew about. Baba had sold the house to Rahim Khan shortly before he flew and I fled to Kabul. The way Baba had seen it those days, Afghanistan's troubles were only a temporary interruption of our way of life. The days of parties at the Wazir Afghan house and picnics in Pakistan would surely return, so he'd given the house to Rahim Khan to keep watch over until that day. Rahim Khan told me now, when the Northern Alliance took over Kabul between 1992 and 1996, different factions claimed different parts of Kabul. If you went from the Shah-e-Nau section to the Kerth Pawan to buy a carpet, you risked getting shot by a sniper or getting blown up by a rocket. If you got past all the checkpoints, you practically needed a visa to go from one neighborhood to the other. So people just stayed put, prayed the next rocket wouldn't hit their home. He told me how people knocked holes in the walls of their homes so they could bypass the dangerous streets and would move down the block from hole to hole. In other parts, people moved about in the underground tunnels. Why didn't you leave? I said. Kabul was my home. It still is, he snickered. Remember the street that went from your house to Kisha, the military barracks next to Iskial school? Yes. It was the shortcut to school. I remember the day Hassan and I crossed it, and the soldier did Hassan about his mother. Hassan had cried in the cinema later, and I put an arm around him. When the Taliban rolled in and kicked the alliance out of Kabul, I actually danced on the street, Rahim Khan said. And believe me, I wasn't alone. People were celebrating in Chaman, a Deman greeting a Taliban with people streets, climbing their tanks and posing for pictures with them. People were so tired of the constant fighting, tired of rockets, the gunfire, the explosions, tired of watching Gulbuddin and his colors firing on anything that moved. The Alliance did more damage to Kabul than the Shirawi. They destroyed your father's orphanage. Did you know that? Why? I said. Why would they destroy an orphanage? I remember sitting behind Baba the day they opened the orphanage. The wind had knocked off his Hercule hat and everyone had laughed. Then stood and clapped when he delivered his speech. And now it was just another pile of rubble. All the money Baba had spent, all those nights he sweated over the blueprints, all the visits to the construction site to make sure every brick, every beam, and every block was laid just right. Collateral damage, Rahim Khan said. You don't want to know. Amir Jan. What is like shifting through rubble of the orphanage. There were body parts of the children. So when the Taliban came, they were heroes, Rahim Khan said. Peace at last. Yes, hope is a strange thing. Peace at last. But what price? A violent coughing fit gripped Rahim Khan and rocked his gaunt body back and forth. When he spat into his handkerchief, immediately it stained red. I thought that was good. Any time an address the elephant sweating with us in the tiny room. How are you? I asked. I mean, really, how are you? Dying, actually, he said in a gurgling voice. Another round coughing, more blood on the handkerchief. He wiped his mouth, blotted his sweaty brow on one moist temple and the other with his leaf, and gave me a quick glance. When he nodded, I knew he had the real next question to my face. Not long, he breathed. How long? He shrugged, coughed again. I don't think I'll see the end of this summer, he said. Let me take you home with me. I can find you a good doctor. They are coming up with new treatments all the time. There are new drugs and experimental treatments. We could enroll you in one. I was rambling and I knew it, but it was better than crying, which I was probably going to do anyway. He let out a chaff of laughter, revealed missing lower incisors. It was the most tired laughter I have ever heard. I see America has infused you with the optimism that has made her so great. That's very good. We are a melancholic people. We Afghans, aren't we? Often we wallow too much in gambori and self-pity. We give in to lust, to suffering, accept it as a fact of life, even see it as necessary. Sendajuri misgara, we say. Life goes on. But I am not surrendering to fate here. I am being pragmatic. I have seen several good doctors and they all have given same answer. I trust them and believe them. There is such thing as God's will. There's only what you do and what you don't do, I said. But Rahim Khan laughed. You sounded like your father just now. I miss him so much. But if it's God's will, Amir Jan, it really is. He paused. Besides, there's another reason I asked you to come here. I wanted to see you before I go. Yes, but something else too. Anything. You know all those years I lived in your father's house after you left? Yeah. I wasn't alone for all of them. Hassan lived there with me. Hassan, I said. When was the last time I had spoken his name? Those thorny verbs of guilt bore into me once more, as if speaking his name had broken a spell, set them free to torment me anew. Suddenly, in the air in Rahim's Khan little flat was too thick, too hot, too rich, with the smell of the street. I thought about writing you and telling you before, but I wasn't sure you wanted to know. Was I wrong? The truth was, no. The lie was, yes. I settled for something in between. I don't know. He gathered another patch of blood into the handkerchief. When he bent his head to spit, I saw honey-crusted sores on his scalp. I brought you here because I am going to ask you something. I'm going to ask you to do something for me. But before, I want to tell you about Hassan. Do you understand? Yes, I murmured. I want to tell you about him. I want to tell you everything. You will listen? I nodded. Then Rahim Khan sipped one more tea, rested his head against the wall, and spoke. So that was all of chapter 15. If you want a chapter 16, well, Google it, I don't know. Thanks, I guess.